Hi. Now we move on to the various transformations that you have to do to the data to prep up the data for further analysis or further machine learning purposes. So what are the and one thing I want to say upfront here is that going forward, a lot of the code examples for what you're seeing in data cleansing and data transformation activities will be a part of the use cases you're going to be seeing later in the course, because it makes sense for these things to be used in a place where they actually require in a use case to show how important and how purposeful these transformations are for. So that is something just FYI, if you are looking for a lot more code samples, you will find them as a part of the use cases later in the modules. So different sources of data typically have different formats and hence standardization is required. For example, you are getting customer data from two different sources. Let's say you're getting data about customers, your web customers from your web CRM, and getting data about your phone customers from your phone system. Those two sets of data will have things like different formats and different structures and stuff like that, and they need to be standardized before they can be joined together and or put them together in a single data, so as a single data source, and to use them for further analysis. So having data in the same format, in the same scale, makes comparison and summarization activities obviously easier. So what are the various things you do in terms of data standardization? The first thing, you'd start with the numbers. In the case of numbers, you want to standardize the decimal places, or if the numbers are in the logarithmic format, you want to, what is the log base that is there? Is it log base of 2, base of 10, base of e? Now that needs to be normalized. In the case of date and time typically comes in different formats. You want to convert them to a proper structure, typically store them as epoch, which is time zone insensitive, or in the POSIX format. You also want to make sure that the date and time that you're getting has a time zone associated with it, and you actually adjust the time zone correctly, so that when you're looking at the data, you're looking at the data in the right way. Two data sources might have the same date showing up in different time zones, so you have to adjust for the time zones before you can start comparing them. So these are some of the standardizations that you would do to data. Text data, of course, you do things like name formatting, like some names might be coming as first name, last name. Some might be coming as last name, comma, first name. You want to standardize them to a single format. There could be things like lowercase, uppercase handling, init case. All this kind of things has to be done with text before they can be used for proper machine learning. There are further processing that you do to get the data into a proper shape before they can be used for analysis or machine learning purposes. And one of the first things you might do is called binning. Why do you do binning? You want to convert numeric continuous data into categorical data. You want to convert numeric to the categories. So in this case, for example, that example on the right side, you have a continuous data called age, where it varies all the way from 11 onwards to 65. You want to convert them into categories, a few classes or categories, or 4 or 5 categories. In this case, you're going to be doing them as ranges. You create a new column called age range, and then that age ranges from 1 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. That's like 4 different classes. And then typically you add a new column, and based on the original column, you populate the range in the new column. So these predefined ranges are used, or what we call as bins. So the age ranges are what we call as bins, and individual data records are classified into these bins and put in there. Bins typically make analysis a lot more easier. It makes the use of classification algorithms for prediction purposes easier. And this is a pretty popular technique. Rather than predicting age as a single variable, you typically in a lot of times want to only predict the range of the age. And in these kind of cases, classification algorithms work better if the age range is available as a classification variable or a class variable rather than as a continuous variable. The next technique that you would want to be using is what are called indicator variables. In the case of indicator variables, what you're doing is you're converting categorical data into Boolean data. Now, how do I convert categorical data into Boolean data? So an example is shown on the right side, where you have a categorical variable or a classification variable like pressure. So pressure has three unique values: high, medium, and low. Now, how do you convert that to indicator variable? Is you create two new columns. One column is called is high, the other is called is medium. Both of them are Boolean, and based on the value in the pressure column, you populate them with either ones or zeros. So what you do here is, if the variable has n different classes, you then create n minus 1 new variables. So pressure has three classes: the high, medium, and low. Three classes are there. So you create two new n minus 1, two new columns: is high and is medium, to populate them with ones or zeros. The thing is, the absence, the way that low is going to be shown for you is that when both these columns are zero, it is going to indicate low. So that's why if there are n classes, you create n minus 1 columns, because the absence of value in these both of these thing is going to indicate the third value. Indicator variables sometimes work better in predictions than categorical variables. Something like when you're doing clustering, indicator variables work a lot better than the corresponding categorical counterparts. So it's better for you to try indicator variables also to see if your regular classification variables are not working that good. Go create indicator variables and then see if it is going to be giving you better results. So that's another thing, that another kind of data processing that you want to do, a data transformation you want to do before to help you in doing better predictions. The next technique we are going to be talking about is what we call as centering and scaling. Now, when you have two sets of data, two data columns, they might be in different value ranges. When you have data in different value ranges and you try to put them together into machine learning algorithms, they sometimes tend to skew the behavior of the machine learning algorithms. So the best thing for you to do is take these values and standardize them using the centering and scaling methodology. So when you do centering and scaling, the values are converted into values of the same scale, but they do retain their unique signal characteristics. So for example, how do you do? On the right side, you have two columns like age and height. See, the age ranges somewhere between 11 and 65. The height columns ranges somewhere between 150 to 195. So they are coming in two different ranges, and by centering and scaling, what you want to achieve is convert them into like the same scale. It makes comparison of both these variables pretty easier. And how do you do centering and scaling is you find the mean and standard deviation for both the columns. So both the variables are both the columns here. The age has a mean of 35 and standard deviation of 16.3. The height has a mean of 170 and standard deviation of 12.56. You first find the mean and standard deviation. Then you center them. You center the value by subtracting the mean from the value. So here the value 35, you subtract the mean, which is also 35, from them and come up with a value of 0. That is called centering. You take 23, you subtract 23 from 35, it comes up with minus 12. That is called centering. Then how do you scale? To scale, you then divide this value by the standard deviation. So that is called centering and scaling. So you subtract the value. You take every value and then do a minus mean and then divide by the standard deviation to get the centered and scaled value. So here you have 23, you do 23 minus 35 and then divide it by 16.3. That is your centered and scaled value minus 0.74. So if you apply this algorithm to all the values you see here, you see the centered and scaled age and the centered and scaled height on the third and fourth columns here. You see that they are pretty much in the same range. The age ranges between minus 1.47 to plus 1.84, whereas the height is going to be somewhere between minus 0.78 to plus 1.92. Now the important thing that is going to be happening here is what you see here is that it retains its original shape. Suppose you have a So if you have a frequency distribution of age and then compare the frequency distribution of the age with the centered age, you will see them having pretty much the same shape. The spread of the values will typically be the same. If you look at the quartiles, the behavior of the quartiles will also be pretty much the same. So you retain the characteristics or the signals in the data. The highest value continues to be the highest value. The lowest value continues to be the lowest value. The middle value continues to be the middle value. It retains the signals in the data while adjusting the values to be on the same scale. And a lot of times when machine learning algorithms, they use distance measures to find affinity between between data. Centering and scaling helps those distance measures a lot to give you better results. So centering and scaling is a very popular technique that you do as a pre-processing to your data before feeding them into machine learning algorithms. That's it for centering and scaling, and that's it for data transformations. Thank you.